Welcome to the No Name REI podcast with your host, Aaron Bihl. This is episode 4. And today, it's just going to kind of be an update show talking about what does business currently look like? What are things I'm, learning in this kind of, starting over process that's been going on for a few months and stuff I'm excited about. So the original intent with this episode was to actually talk about masterminds and gurus and just some thoughts on that stuff. But I think I'm going to push that till next week, and had some requests to kind of just talk about deals, talk about what I have going on. So thought this would be a good opportunity for that. So as far as what does business look like right now, I feel like there's been a lot of, in the past probably 5-6 months, learning what I want my business to look like and figuring that out along the way, having some success, failing a lot, and everything being slower than I want it to be. But yeah, so what does that look like? Currently marketing and buying houses in Southern Ohio, where I'm from, kind of central Kentucky, Lexington, Richmond area, kind of by where I went to college. And then we started back in San Antonio just because honestly it was a thing of, hey, I know this market and it's more competitive than the others, but I know it very well, and I've been doing this for 5 years here. And if you say, Martin Street, I know exactly where it's at, right? So that was kind of some of the emphasis there of why we're doing San Antonio again. As far as my team, I have my acquisitions guy JP, who has worked with me for a few years, and honestly, we're both just kind of learning and growing, and a lot of this stuff's virtual. So it just looks different than being in person. Some of the San Antonio stuff we'll kind of do, in person or virtual. It's me and him, and then we have a lead manager and kind of a collection of VAs at this point. Yeah, so doing the virtual stuff in Ohio and Kentucky, virtual local-ish in San Antonio. And then the thing that we're kind of jumping into now is doing more commercial properties. So storage, warehouses, probably mobile home parks, RV parks at some point. And that is nationwide and all virtual. So we've just started that, but I'm like really freaking excited about it. So, and I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if the business goes more that direction. I think my hope with it, honestly, was to kind of get away from just some of the crackheadiness of residential real estate and, kind of hopefully, kind of reach more professionals, have better conversations, easier conversations, some of that. And that's definitely been true up until this point. We have several deals we're working or we're close on. We have a verbal out on one now that it's a great deal. We're going to wholesale it, but we're buying it on owner finance. Day one, I'd be walking into probably a few $100,000 in equity and like $1,500, $2,000 a month in cash flow on a triple net warehouse. So I'm excited about that stuff. It looks different. It feels brand new, but it's kind of just applying the stuff I've known and learned over the years to a different asset class. So it's really not that different. It just feels brand new. That's kind of what we have going on now. Typical stuff with other residential deals. We have 2 or 3 under contract in Kentucky, and they have tenants who don't want to let us see the house, or they're dealing with evictions or whatever. Kind of similar situation with one in Ohio. I have a duplex in San Antonio. That's all fairly normal, but just kind of your normal stuff there. But yeah, that's kind of what business looks like today. I think it'll probably go this kind of natural direction of more commercial stuff, but we'll see. I kind of like the balance of having residential that is potentially quicker, can be more straightforward, and then having the industrial commercial stuff that takes longer to pan out, but should be bigger paydays. So that's what we're doing now, kind of the stuff I'm excited about. Getting into the, kind of what I'm learning right now. So I think there's just been a lot of what I would say is hey, take your own advice, right? It's easy for me to, talk to someone and, they have questions about X, Y, or Z and how to market and how to get deals and how to follow up and all this stuff. And it's really easy for me to, from my experience, say, hey, this is how you should do your marketing. You need to, make sure you have a 6-month runway and you really see it through, and make sure you really give this a chance to succeed, or you're not going to see the fruit of it if you quit too early. But then actually doing that myself has been a challenge, right? So, uh, I want immediate results. I think I kind of underestimated the power of the brand I built in San Antonio, both personal brand and connections with buyers and lenders and all those things. But also, like, I put a ton of effort into building our Murphy Home Buyers brand, right? So, and it's things that, with any sort of branding or SEO or any of that, like, you see the fruit of what you're doing today in months or years from now. The effort you're putting into building a brand today, you might not see for 2 or 3 years. And I think I underestimated that. So, we're getting there with, some of the new stuff, but it just doesn't happen overnight. And I think I kind of got used to that and kind of honestly just kind of forgot what that looked like. Right. So a lot of just, I guess, learning to be patient with things, but there's been a lot of, I feel like I'm in this constant battle with myself of, do you, when this happens, do you pivot or do you ride it out? Right. So it's a balance of both of, hey, I hired these cold callers. They're doing okay. They're not doing great. We've been with them for 3 months. Do we keep going? Do I try something new? Same thing with some mail. Like, I mailed this. It didn't hit the way I thought it would. Should I keep mailing or do something new? And sorry, I'm like sniffly. I'm all sick again. But yeah, so I think that's kind of the ongoing battle I'm seeing of, do with everything. Like, hey, with a small business, especially when you're kind of starting up and growing, you got to be able to pivot when things aren't working, but you also have to, see things through, or you're not going to get the benefit of, kind of what you're doing. So those are things that I'm constantly battling. Like, do we call this list? Do we call this list? Have we given this enough time to see if it actually works? Are we following up with these people enough? All these things that, it's this constant battle of, like, do we pivot or do we keep going and, knowing that, the consistency will pay off. So that's the thing, a lot of times. And, it's really easy for someone to say, hey, help me with marketing, help me with this, and give, ideas or options or whatever. But then it's like, are you taking your own advice? And a lot of times that's hard. It's hard for me to, keep writing the checks for things when I'm not seeing the benefit of it. But, the other thing I think I'm really learning is stuff just takes time. So, it takes time to build a brand. It takes time for deals to pan out. It takes time to learn, how things work virtually compared to in person. All these things take time. And then the thing after that is, just see things through. So, back to some of the marketing stuff, like the cold caller thing. I had hired this company. I wanted to fire them probably a month or two in. They're doing okay, not really getting the results, but I was also like, I want results like today, not in the time frame this normally takes. And then, so stuck with them for 5 or 6 months, but then made the pivot because I was like, this is not working. It's not sustainable. We're not getting the deal flow from it that I want. So I really have, like, dug in and completely learned how to build out a cold calling team, right? So that I self-manage, that I source myself, that absolutely crushes. But, it's a thing that I haven't always taken the time to do. And even like the cold callers, like, I just wanted to turn them loose on day one. And it took me a month to get them, get the right systems, get the right stuff in place where they could be successful. But I want everything done like yesterday, right? I want everything done immediately. I want, that immediate satisfaction of stuff. And unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. And one day I'll figure out how to be patient or something. Who knows? But the big thing with that is just, really seeing things through, understanding things take time, understanding that everything's not going to happen on my schedule. Everything, this isn't going to close when I want it to. Things are still going to go wrong, but, be patient, see things through. And then I think the last thing that I'm kind of learning was, especially with, like, marketing and sales and all, kind of all this new stuff, right? New markets, new, asset classes, all that. Everything works if you commit to it and make it work. If I'm committed to make something work, it's going to happen, right? So if hey, I'm going to buy houses in San Antonio and I'm committed to that, it's going to happen. If I'm wishy-washy on things, it probably doesn't happen. And I've seen in myself both those things. I've signed up for different courses or programs or whatever, and the stuff that I commit to and really, decide that, hey, one way or another, I'm figuring this out. I always figure it out. The stuff that I'm kind of wishy-washy on, it doesn't really happen because I don't put in the work. But I think it's a thing of, people will be like, hey, what's the best list, or what's the best marketing, or what's the best asset class? And honestly, all of it works if you make it work. If you put in the work, if you, commit to it and see it through, like, it'll happen. I was talking to someone on Instagram, and they've been marketing with mail for, 6 or 7 months. I haven't seen anything from it yet. And sometimes that's just how it goes. But it's a thing of, if you would have quit a month ago, you wouldn't have gotten a deal. That same person messaged me literally a day after I talked to him and was like, hey, we got our first deal. We're going to make $30,000 on it or whatever. But that's a thing that with a lot of this, if you don't commit to it, like that, that huge deal might be right around the corner and you don't know it yet. And that's what I think, I'm seeing with a lot of this of, hey, the first time I started this, not having a clue what I'm doing, it took probably 3 or 4 months to get a deal. I thought I was some like hotshot that I would just completely start over and it would be really easy. And, unfortunately that hasn't been the case, but, we're getting there. We're kind of turning the corner now where I'm really excited about a lot of things. And yeah, we're making really great progress. As far as kind of the last thing I'll talk about, just stuff that I'm excited about in business, life, whatever. This seems like a weird thing to be excited about, but I've just been working a lot and that's kind of fun. I feel like business is in kind of this pivotal point where we're about to turn a corner. We're doing really well. And I kind of just have in my mind, if I just work my ass off for the next 5 or 6 months, I'll be in really good shape for a really long time. Yeah. So building out systems, processes, onboarding callers, making sure our data's dialed in, doing all that stuff, trying to, put out good content, all of this stuff. But, right now, like, I'm just excited to work a lot. I'm trying to work 10 or 12 hours a day on the weekdays and 4 or 5 hours a day, at least on the weekend day. I just think if I do that for 6 months, we're going to be in really good shape. So, and I'm weirdly excited about working, staying up late, working a lot, not sleeping a lot. It's weird. It's a weird thing to be excited about, but I am, and that's kind of where we're at. As far as other stuff, the industrial stuff or commercial stuff, I think there's a ton of potential there. It's completely new, so it's kind of like you feel like you have absolutely no clue what you're doing, but at the same time, it's similar, right? Like it's the same kind of process that, we do residential. It just takes longer, but that stuff's exciting. It's new. Numbers seem bigger. It just seems exciting, right? The other thing I'm like super pumped about right now is just like lead generation and the team of cold callers I've built. I've never been a cold calling guy, like ever. And my main thing is with cold calling, why I've not liked it is you almost need an entire like extra team to deal with the leads that come in from cold calling. So it's like you get 5 leads a day or whatever, and then you suddenly have, over a week you build up 30 leads, and then you're in this constant battle of like you need a full-time person to try to get them back on the phone, actually qualify them, see if it works for you. They tend to be a slower sales cycle, a little colder, not always the most exciting, but like any marketing, it works. But the thing this time is I've never really done it on my own. So I put a ton of effort into how do I find the best, the most affordable cold callers, and how do I get our cost way down and get really good leads. Last week, across, I think 7 or 8 cold callers calling 5 hours a day, pulled in 119 leads, and cost was like $5 or $6 a lead, which is absolutely insane. And there should be multiple deals from that. So that's one thing I'm super excited about. It's one of those where I'm like, is this something I should build out and, offer to other people because I think I have something cool? Or is this something I just keep to myself and keep it small and just keep my marketing costs down? But that's been really cool. Really great team of cold callers too. I'm like actively managing them, which I don't love, but for now it's been really great. And I've been, kind of learning, refining those processes too. But we're kind of getting to the point where we get a lot of really good leads and my team can cherry pick the ones we want. Not that we shouldn't be working the others, but just kind of where we're at, where it's like, hey, we'll work all these really good leads and then we'll get to the others when we can, which is a good problem to have. It's like, that's exciting. The other thing that I'm finally, working on is building out a framework for, kind of a real estate mastermind or community, which will probably be, releasing. I'll probably come out with that in a few weeks. But my goal with that is really just to provide something that's, honest, straightforward, and more affordable than kind of anything out there, and build a community that, wants to help each other, wants to work together, and honestly, like, kind of do what you want with real estate, right? Like, if you want to build a great, like, huge team and have this whole thing, great. If you want to, buy a house a month or buy a house a year or whatever, I just want a place where, you can get good people together, teach them the, stuff I've, learned over the past 4 or 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is, and offer that at an affordable price. But, honestly, hopefully just bring people together and they can do deals together or learn from each other, or, whatever that looks like. Cause I've been in a lot of those, and there's some that are really good that have been super impactful. So yeah, so that's, another thing I'm kind of coming out with finally, where just excited about it. So there's a lot of stuff that's, going on. Should hopefully have a handful of commercial deals locked up in the coming weeks, still going hard in the residential stuff. And yeah, that's about it. If you got value out of this, love for you to, give me a follow on Instagram. It's just at Aaron.Bihl. The podcast is No Name REI. Share it with someone who, you may think gets value out of this. And yeah, that's all. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging along. I'll see you later.